send a letter to the king of Israel. So he went, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 changes of clothes. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, which read, "When this letter reaches you, know that I have sent to you Naaman my servant, that you may cure him of his leprosy." And when the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes and said, "Am I God to kill and to make alive, that this man sends word to me to cure a man of his leprosy? Only consider and see how he is seeking a quarrel with me." So, it's a really interesting story, and, the pastor noted about how just a weird of a story this was. But, it is crazy. You have a nation that basically has a war with another nation.
Mm-hmm.
They win the war, take a girl from that nation, and she's actually seeking their good. And that, it didn't occur to me, but that's what we are, right? We're pilgrims or sojourners in a land that's not our own, and yet the Lord calls us to seek the prosperity of it. And that's what this little girl is doing. Like, she is really an example of how we are to be as believers. In a world that's not our home. Like, yeah, the world is hostile to us, perhaps, but we are still to seek the good of that nation. And that's what this little girl has done. And so the king sends Naaman off, it looks like with gifts, talents of silver and shekels of gold. And it's just really interesting, like, how they're treating Israel now, because there might be, an opportunity for the Naaman to be healed. And then the king of Israel is like, who am I, God? How can I cure this man of leprosy? Because leprosy was, such a, there was no cure for leprosy. If you had leprosy, that's pretty much it. You're hopeless. You have this skin disease for the rest of your life, and your health just deteriorated. And so the king of Israel takes it as if, he's trying to cause him more grief. They've just been conquered, just been defeated by them. But now he thinks that the king of Syria is now trying to make more trouble for him. Verse 8. But when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent to the king, saying, "Why have you torn your clothes? Let him come now to me, that he may know that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and stood at the door of Elisha's house. And Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, "Go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be clean." But Naaman was angry and went away, saying, "Behold, I thought that he would surely come out to me and stand and call upon the name of the Lord, his God, and wave his hand over the place and cure the leper. Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean?" So he turned away in rage. Daddy is doing Bible study with mommy. So you need to go play.
But I have something in my finger.
What is in your finger?
This. The white thing.
Okay, go put it down. Okay, go put it down. And so Elisha's like, again, thinking like the little girl, like this is basically an evangelistic opportunity. This is an opportunity to have someone know God, essentially. And so he says, "Why are you upset? Like, this is a good thing, that they may know that there's a prophet in Israel." Basically to say that there is a true prophet. There is someone who can actually knows God, or there's someone who actually knows the true God, that basically the power of God is in this nation, and so it seems like Elisha's thinking about the Lord, whereas the king of Israel was not heavenly minded in a sense. And so Naaman's just thinking, okay, the prophet's going to come out and heal me, but that's not what happens. And Pastor Goff kind of alluded to the fact that, it'd be better for Naaman to be healed in the water by this instruction that that he's given, for him to follow these instructions specifically and be healed, rather than Elisha just do it himself, because it really shows that the power is from God, and not from man. And then he also made a point to go back to Leviticus, because there's some laws about what to do concerning men with leprosy, and how they needed to basically sprinkle water on themselves 7 times or something, or sprinkle blood, or I forgot what it was specifically, but to be sprinkled basically 7 times. And so how this was similar to that, but it wasn't exactly the same. But I'm not going to go too much into that. And so Naaman is upset because it's like, he wanted to be healed basically his own way, but God always has specific instructions on how we are to be cleansed. Just like in Leviticus, all those, different laws concerning, purity and being made clean, they were very specific, and we have to follow those details very specifically. Picking up verse 13. But his servants came near and said to him, "My father, it is a great word the prophet has spoken to you. Will you not do it? Has he actually said to you, 'Wash and be clean'?" So he went down and dipped himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the word of the man of God, and his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. Then he returned to the man of God, he and all his company, and he came and stood before him, and he said, "Behold, I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel. So accept now a present from your servant." But he said, "As the Lord lives before whom I stand, I will receive none." And he urged him to take it, but he refused. Then Naaman said, "If not, please let there be given to your servant 2 mules loads of earth, for from now on your servant will not offer burnt offering or sacrifice to any god but the Lord." And I'll stop there. So basically, Naaman becomes converted, this Gentile. And so, we see a few things there that, again, the Lord has always been purposeful about having a nation to himself, the nation of Israel, to be a light to the nations, but not just for Israel, but to really save the world. So this is a foreshadow of Christ basically saving men from every tribe and tongue and nation. So we see that theme here, because he's using Israel to save someone who is not from Israel, obviously. And then I think the biggest theme, and what we spent a lot of time talking about, was that, faith without works is dead. So how do we know that Naaman was converted? It's like he has his statement, his profession of faith. He says, "Behold, I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel." That's his profession of faith. But why should we believe his profession? It's evidenced by his works. His works demonstrated that he had true faith. What was that work? I'm asking you.
Well, he said that nobody should sacrifice. Is that what you're speaking of? To any other God but the God of Israel? Would you consider that?
That was his profession, but what was the work that he actually did to demonstrate that he really trusted and believed in God as the true God?
Would you say giving the offering, like giving the things to the servants, or no? That's not what you're referring to.
So I would say the actual him going and dipping, washing himself in the Jordans 7 times. So that was if he didn't trust and believe, he wouldn't have done it. So he actually did these things.
I think
And
I
it's
missed
demonstrated.
I missed something because it's like he was angry and unwilling. What made him turn? Like, what did I miss?
So, verse 13 says, But his servants came near, the servants of Naaman. But his servants came near and said to him, My father, it is a great word the prophet has spoken to you. Will you not do it? Has he actually said to you, Wash and be clean? And then verse 14, So he went down and dipped himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the word of the man of God.
Gotcha.
And so he obeyed the command, and he was clean, made clean.
That's amazing.
And so,
I missed that whole part. I was sitting there listening and confused, like, wait, I thought he was angry. I thought he left. How did he then go and get clean? But his servants kind of nudged him to, like, be humble.
yeah.
And that was helpful.
And then there's also something cool to catch, when he's trying to basically pay or give a gift to Elisha for being made clean.
Right.
Elisha says, I will receive
None,
none.
because he didn't do it.
Well, yes, that's a good point. And then also, it's kind of like, we can't pay God back for his work. Like, there's nothing we can do to earn or to merit or to garner his saving work.
Yeah.
It's a free gift of God. It's by grace.
Through faith. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that was the Sunday school.
Thanks, honey.
It's amazing, like, this little girl, basically, the Lord uses her to save this man.
And she had every right to be bitter.
Like,
She had
they
every
carried
right
me
to
off.
just...
She was kidnapped.
Yeah, she was kidnapped, and she's a servant in another nation. She knows no one. She's vulnerable and alone.
Yeah, like,
and yet she's seeking to glorify God even in that.
Right.
That's amazing.
She even calls him Lord.
Yeah, like respects her authority.
Yeah. I wish I had that, attitude in a lot of the situations in my life. Because, like, it's not about her. Like, she's not
waiving her
own
rights.
Situation. Oh, I was captured. That's not right. They defeated us. I'm sad. And no, like, she's like, this is an opportunity to glorify God. She sought her new master's good.
Yeah.
Ultimately, she sought the glory of God. So she loved God and she loved her neighbor.
Yeah.
The 2 great commands.
Yeah.
Love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. It's amazing. Like, the scriptures doesn't even give her a name, and yet this is, a great, work that the Lord used her for.